Am I the a-hole for telling my mom and dad that they have to get their noses pierced if they want to see my daughter again? My husband and I recently traveled to Mexico to visit my family. I am an American citizen, but my parents are not. For my daughter's first birthday, my mom and dad gifted her a pair of earrings, even though her ears are not pierced yet. I told them I would save the earrings until she was old enough to get her ears pierced. One day, we left our daughter with my parents while we met up with some friends. When we returned to pick her up, my mom proudly showed us that they had taken her to get her ears pierced without our consent. I quickly took my daughter and dragged my husband out of there before he lost his temper. We went straight back to our hotel, and I was furious. My husband declared that my parents would never be allowed to spend time alone with our daughter again. I went even further, saying that I wouldn't bring her, or any future children, to visit them at all. We checked out of the hotel 3 days early and returned home. During our trip back to Phoenix, my parents repeatedly called and texted, asking when we would come over. I ignored all their attempts to reach us until we were back home. After taking a couple of days to cool down and reflect, I finally called them. I asked them to listen without interrupting, and I expressed how upset we were that they had pierced our baby's ears without our permission. I also informed them that we had gone home early and wouldn't be visiting for a while. They argued that my sister and I had our ears pierced as babies, and it hadn't harmed us. However, I stood firm and said we wouldn't change our minds. They then got the rest of the family, including my grandmother, to call and tell me I was being unreasonable. My husband and I discussed the situation and came up with a compromise. We agreed that we would resume visits with my parents, but they wouldn't have any alone time with our daughter, unless both of them got their noses pierced as well. They refused, calling us ridiculous, so I simply said, "No problem," and hung up. Since then, we've started blocking anyone who tries to pressure us or give us grief about denying my parents their supposed right to see our daughter. Am I the a-hole?